Yes, there are some people where it comes a little bit later on. I have, for instance, the great jazz artist John Coltrane, who I consider one of the great musicians of our era, and he sort of took up the saxophone when he was a young man, but he didn't really love it. And then he goes and sees a concert when he's 15, 16 years old of Charlie Parker, and suddenly he realizes, oh my God, this is what music could be like. And now he discovers his calling. So everybody's different. Some people have a vague idea, and suddenly they have a moment when they're 15, 16, 17, where it all comes clear. This is what I was meant to do in life. Some people, like Einstein, I maintain, it's already there when he's 5, or Mozart. It depends, but usually in the childhood, before you're 20, you're aware of what I call your vocation. Well, there's several things. I mean, for historical figures, it was fairly easy. You've got a Thomas Edison or a Henry Ford when it comes to technology or being an entrepreneur. You've got in the arts, Da Vinci or music, certain people. Um, that's clear. It was the contemporary ones where I had to create a kind of a standard, which was essentially I wanted to see people who have a body of work, who've mastered their field, and I wanted to choose people from all different fields. One of the points I'm making in the book is the human brain evolved over the course of 6 million years of evolution, and it has certain qualities that we can pinpoint that transcend your field, that transcend the historical moment, that this is what the brain is developed for. So, for instance, when the brain is designed for focusing very deeply, when you focus deeply on a particular problem or subject over a certain amount of time, ideas come to you. You understand something, what makes it real, what makes it tick. It's an inevitable process that the brain is designed for. It transcends fields. So I wanted to show people examples of that in an architect, in a robotics engineer, in a boxing trainer, in an artist, in a woman born with autism, Temple Grandin. This is the human brain in action. And so I also wanted people to have good dramatic stories that I could narrate, but that was the key. I wanted them to illustrate this main idea that they are living examples of what the human brain can do when it goes through these certain key factors. Well, they were all had their own interesting elements to them. The I did interview the boxing trainer Freddie Roach because I wanted a sports figure in there, a strategist. He's a brilliant strategist, um, and uh, he's not someone who's educated. He didn't go. I don't even know if he ever graduated high school. He might have. Um, he's not doesn't read books or anything like that. But in talking to them, I could see that this man is brilliant. He's brilliant in his field. He's mastered competition. He knows the dynamics of competition, of beating the other opponent, of the psychology of your opponent, of what it takes to win. And so it was interesting to see how brilliantly he could articulate this, even though he's not what you would classify as an intellectual. So many people would go masters, and we think of Einstein or whatever. But no, anybody in a field is a master. And I had an interview with the New York Times a few months ago. Um, it was about my house where I live, and there was a man who did a lot of the work on my house, who's did the tile work. He's a master craftsman. He's it's nothing intellectual there as well. He spent 20, 30 years in this field, in construction and building things, and he's now reached a level where I consider him a master. And then there were, as I mentioned, Temple Grandin was a great story. Um, I really wanted to show that a woman born with autism who has got everything against her, if she's able to reach a level of mastery in the sciences, because she's a professor of animal sciences, then there's really nobody who could complain. I'm not born with this talent because she was born with nothing. And it was really, she's an amazing person to meet because you can see uh, all of the things that she had to overcome. She is not socially like other people. She's a little bit awkward, but she's trained herself to become socially aware and know how to deal with people and be sensitive to other people's emotions. So seeing that in it's the kind of thing where you couldn't really know reading just books about her. You have to meet these people in person and get a feel for who they are and how they think and how they just who they are. And seeing her in action, I could see this is someone who overcame almost everything, every possible obstacle in life, and she's trained herself to become a very successful, high achieving human. It was interesting. One of the masters is this woman, Yoki Matsuoka, who's a robotics engineer, um, and also now she's involved in Silicon Valley and green technology. She's an absolute genius. She's one of those people that won that MacArthur Genius Grant. She's probably about 40 now, but um, I really related to her because she was born kind of in Japan, and she had a very rebellious, anti-authoritarian sort of streak to her, which didn't fit well with being in Japan. She played tennis. She was going to maybe be a tennis pro, and she identified with John McEnroe and Andre Agassi. Those were her idols. And then she got into technology, and she identified with this other guy who was at the MIT robot lab, who's also a hardcore kind of rebel. And I liked her because she's weird. She's different, and I'm sort of a weirdo myself. She doesn't fit any category, and and she knows that, and she knows that she's different, and she minds that difference to the ultimate end. That's what makes a master. These are people who you can't say they're like anybody else. There's no other person like Steve Jobs. Well, there's no one else like Yoki Matsuoka. She created her own name when she came to America as a child. She gave herself a new name, a new kind of identity. She taught herself how to mix in with the American high school culture. Just a way of looking at the world that's different, that's unconventional. And one of the points in the book I'm trying to make is if you want to be successful in this very entrepreneurial world we're living in, you have to be somewhat original. You have to not be afraid of bringing out what is unique about you, even if what's unique about you is sort of unconventional, different. It might even seem weird to other people, but that's your source of strength. You should never be running away from that. And I really identified in that with Yoki Matsuoka.